Stay tuned because next up is Village Properties Realtor David Charles Allen, and he's also the host of the HOP, that's Home Ownership Podcast, here to tell us all about real estate in Santa Barbara.
Welcome to HOP. This is David Charles Allen, Realtor at Village Properties in Santa Barbara, California, with my great friend and co-host Patty Teal. I'm doing wonderful today. Patty, how you doing?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for asking.
Good to hear. We got partly cloudy skies here in Santa Barbara, temperature throughout the 70s up ahead. So it's going to be another beautiful week.
Sounds beautiful. You know, on the news, they keep talking about how hot it is in California. But of course, I guess they're talking about those places that are not close to the beach.
Yeah, anywhere inland or even like Los Angeles, not really super inland, but it is. And they're getting temperatures triple digits easily.
Yeah. Well, David, I have to tell you, here in Florida where I'm living, it is hot and humid. That's no news. But the ocean is about between 95 and 97 degrees. That's how warm the water is.
That's kind of crazy. Like, how does anyone even want to go in the water when it's hot? And
exactly. I know. It's not even refreshing.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if people are still going to enjoy the beach and whatnot.
Well, I guess they still do go. And because anything wet, I suppose, is somewhat refreshing, but it is really warm. Somebody told me that is a predictor that there could be more hurricanes coming, but don't quote me on that because I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, doesn't hurricanes always come in Florida? Isn't that not a new thing?
Well, it is, but I guess some years are worse than others.
That's what it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the El Nino in Santa Barbara. Some years get a lot of rain and the surf is high. It's that kind of a thing.
That's true. Yeah, we're not having much surf. Been pretty dry the last few weeks, so it doesn't look like there's anything coming up either. So that just means no real good storms coming up from the south.
Right.
And then in terms of how interest rates were performed, we're at 6.25 for 30-year jumbo and 6.375 for 30-year conforming. So not too much of a change since last week.
No, and staying steady there.
Well. Yeah. And then in terms of the listings, we've got 50 new listings, 23 price changes, 28 that closed, 23 that went pending, 5 coming soon, and 6 back on the market. So that's great. We're up to 50 new listings. That's a big number of price changes at 23. And that's a huge difference in terms of new listings and pendings, with only about half of new listings amount went pending. So that's a huge, significant drop of what we're come accustomed to.
Absolutely. So if you've been thinking about purchasing in the Santa Barbara area, it's time to call your realtor or call David. David, would you give your information?
Yeah, my number is 805-617-9311. My email is david@davidcharlesallen.com. So like you're saying, it's kind of a very weird market where some homes are just instantly desirable and they sell really quickly, even more than asking. And then you get these other homes that are tending to sit on the market a little bit longer and then getting those price reductions. So it's a very interesting market in terms of what is desirable about the buyers that are purchasing right now.
Yeah, great. Thank you, David.
Of course. And any questions of the day for me?
Well, David, we've been over this a lot, but I'm just want your new opinion as we ask the question today. When are things going to change in the fact, or what would make things change so that more people would want to sell their home? I know so often we've mentioned that because interest rates were so low and people got in at that time, now if they sold, they would not get as much for their money because the interest rate would be higher. And so probably the people who must sell will sell, but those that are kind of on the fence maybe are holding off. So will we have to wait? Or will Santa Barbarans have to wait and realtors have to wait to get a really big change for the interest rates to change?
I think it's going to come down to interest rates is probably going to be the main deciding factor right there. And then it's going to be lifestyle changes is another big factor. It's what do people want in their life? Do they want like a more simple life, maybe some more freedom, maybe some more cash in their bank account and move somewhere cheaper? Maybe they want to move away from Santa Barbara and get like a little more lifestyle that has a little more like activities going on, like a bigger city. I think in terms of interest rates too, another huge factor that we've talked about is if people even move away, they've kept their home if they could and rented it out because the rental market's so high. So I think
That's
another
true.
huge driving factor in terms of interest rates is if the rental market ever goes down, or if there's going to be less demand in the rental market, because then it's going to be less valuable for those people to hold on to those second and third homes if they're not getting rent back from it. I think that could be a deciding factor if anything stalls out in the rental market, which we've kind of seen gross price increases in the rental market, and those have definitely slowed. They're still quite high. It's kind of dramatic. Usually once rent prices go up, they usually don't go down. And how dramatic they went up, we are seeing them kind of go back down to a normal level, but not nearly as low as what it was before.
Oh, that's really interesting, David. So is that because people are having trouble affording the rent and the rentals are not renting as quickly as they were?
It could be that, or it could just be the demand of people that want to live here. Because I know why it spiked so much in the first place is because people wanted to get out of these big cities and they all paying anything to get out. And now that everything's kind of trending on the normal, going back to how things were before, people may not need to live here anymore. And they're like, all right, well, let's just go back to where we lived before. And we're not going to be paying these rents and move back into their home or whatever they're going to do. So it's like the outside demand of people that didn't live here before that wanted the lifestyle this provided. Maybe that's going to start dropping, which in turn drops the demand. Like a normal family that lived here before would just be blown away by like what new people are paying for rent.
And I hate to hear that when normal working people that make maybe the median income can't afford a decent place to live. That is a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, I think it was just like people that were already living here and accustomed to like a certain price range. And then if they go to look for something else that's new, they kind of get maybe a sticker shock. And that's just because of all the influx of people that came here that thought it was cheap, even at that high rate. So the value is always going to be determined by what people are willing to pay. And then obviously supply and demand.
Well, I'm thrilled that rentals are going down a little bit. That'll make a lot of people happy.
It really depends on the rental too. Like single 1 and 2 bedrooms are still pretty high because that's usually the demand for people in Santa Barbara, whether you're single income or living on your own. So those studios and 1 bedrooms, they're still pretty high, but those like 3 and 4 bedrooms, they're starting to see like a little bit of a drop.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So can we move on to the fur babies?
Yeah, let's move on to the fur babies. Everyone's doing amazing over here. Just loving life. Everything's good.
Yeah. Well, Ollie's looking forward to a new container of chowdies that are coming his way. And thank you so much for sending them to Ollie. Can you tell our listeners if they have missed the past few episodes about chowdies?
Yeah, Chowdies is just a company my friend and I started. We wanted to provide healthy treats that with no tricks or no BS kind of involved. And we're just really looking to provide something good for the animals and our companions. And everything's organic and freeze dried, so it maintains all its nutrients and it can preserve on your counter. So many things we can talk about and what we're trying to do with our company that it's hard to put it all in 1 or 2 sentences.
Yes, I know it's really a lot to start a business. And I know this is a new business, but it's not new your knowledge of nutrition for both people and pets. And I know it was really important to you that your dogs, and now you're helping other people to feed their dogs really healthy organic treats.
Yeah, I think the whole premise too is maybe we give some of these treats out and other people start researching more into what they're feeding their animals and kind of just like a knowledge thing and finding growth and maybe coming to a different understanding of like, hey, maybe I can do it this other way. And maybe in the long run, my pet will have less trips to the vet and live a longer life and have maybe less issues when it gets older, maybe less issues just while the age they are. And it's just providing the best you can for your animals. And a lot of people, I think it's changed since maybe you were younger and stuff like that, where dog is just a dog and it kind of gets what it gets and it hangs out in the garage or outside or stuff like that. But it's really coming to a place where animals are part of your family. And if they're part of your family, you might as well treat them and understand what their needs are and how to keep them healthy.
That's so interesting that you say that, David, because I've always had dogs and I've always loved my dogs and they've always been a part of the family. But it's true. My mom would say, and she grew up on a farm, it's a dog. A dog is a dog. And so it's definitely changed where they're treated more like your children, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're so passionate for your attention and your love, and they never really get mad at you. They're just such great companions, and they really bring a lot of joy to your life. So dogs
Right.
and cats, might as well share that love back with them in every way you can.
Absolutely. And I just want to remind people that Chowdy's is for dogs and cats, which is kind of remarkable. I know when you go to the grocery store, there's always the cat aisle and the dog aisle. And although I have at times given my dog cat things when I was watching my daughter's cat, and they do seem to like it, but I don't know if the nutrition is different for dogs and cats. But in your case, these treats are good for both animals.
Yeah, so nutrition is always going to change a little bit between dogs and cats just because what they are, they're two different breeds of animals. So there's going to be slight differences in terms of nutrition and stuff like that. But overall, we're single ingredient. Our treats are made from just one organ or part of an animal, and liver is probably one of the most nutritious things you can give your dog or cat. So that's why we use it for both dog and cat treats.
Yeah, and you were explaining something that was really fascinating too, that large companies have a trouble with shelf life. So they have to put a lot of preservatives in their treats and their foods so that things are actually good for several years. But you have made Chowdies so that they're good for a long time, but they don't have to have all those unhealthy preservatives.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the process we use to make our treats is called freeze drying. And what that process does is it freezes the food and then vacuums the air out and dries it at the same time. So that removes all the moisture while keeping it fresh and keeping it shelf stable. And if you ever want to add the moisture back in and add the water content back in, all you have to do is take some of the treats, pour some water over it, and then it rehydrates it to like it was brand new.
Wow. Well, you've come up with an amazing product, David, and I know people can find it and order it at Chowdees, that's CHOWDEES.com.
That's right. We have a little program we're doing right now. We're trying to do a little pass it along while supplies last. So every purchase gets an extra small jar. So we're hoping someone that orders a jar and maybe they'll pass it along, the extra one, to their friends so their companions can enjoy it, or give their dog a little more extra treats, just pass on the love to them as well. So we're just trying to do that as we're starting out, just trying to share more love with more companions and get people to invest in their dog's health by giving them organic, nutritious treats.
Well, I love that, David. I will ask Ollie to pass it along, but I'm not sure he will.
Right.
Anyway, well, thank you so much, David. What an interesting show, both about Chowdies and, of course, real estate in Santa Barbara. Would you give your information again in case someone wants to get a hold of you?
Yeah, my number is 805-617-9311, and my email is david@davidcharlesallen.com.
Thanks so much, David.
Thanks, Patty. It's going to go next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.